This is the Sync 4A screen that you're going to find inside of the Ford Expedition. So the screen technically was introduced back in 2022, but there are some changes for the Sync 4A. Some small graphic changes, but the big one actually is with factory navigation. So factory nav in the previous gen was built in, so that means that you could use it as a traditional GPS even after the 3 years of connected services were up. Now it's essentially going to be just a connected navigation. So there's 1 year of service that's included, and then after the year's up, if you don't continue on with the subscription, it moves into just like a regular dead moving map. So it just follows you around, but there's no option for entering in a destination. You can still hook up your phones though, so you can use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay to connect through maps that way instead if you want. So that's like the one downside of Sync 4A. But I'm going to dive in. I want to show you everything else that you're going to need to know inside of the screen that are the important highlights. Home icon along the very top, there's radio, phone, navigation. So this is essentially like a hot button tray for some things that are available. Entertainment, there are a series of games. Now one thing about the games is that when you're in drive, the game section or entertainment is grayed out. So you have to park again in order for the games to be usable. Now, something about the screen itself is that it also doesn't have support for video playback yet. I'm like, fingers crossed, hopefully it comes, but even if you're connected through CarPlay or Android Auto, there's no video playback capabilities through the screen. But straightforward there, you've got a little tray along the very bottom side, climate control settings, data connections, outside temperature, and your current time. Going back to this home screen, let's start off by hopping into radio. So sources, you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth is available there. And then if you go back to the home screen, there's also USB. So whatever active sources are available will be there. You can button press in order to get to some different options there. Preset rows, I always just recommend going to 6. And the reason why is because it gives you a boatload of available presets. So really, really nice if you're an audiophile, and as you can see there, mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM. If you wanted to save a station, tune to whatever station you want, press and hold, preset is saved, and it's that simple to do it. So you can tune to stations a few ways, like you can kind of plus and minus this way. You can seek out that way instead if you want to. You can use the voice command prompt on the steering wheel in order to seek stations. You can change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, change your audio, or your climate settings, I should say, and a number of other things. If you're in SiriusXM, there are a few more unique options. I'd say probably like the one big option to point out is this one. So it's a notification. So if the song or the artist starts to play again, it's going to let you know. So you can save either the song station. When they play on any station, it's going to let you know that that artist or that song is currently playing. You can restart along the very bottom there too. So very straightforward to use it. And then both of them, I mean, it's so easy. Play, pause as necessary. If you're back in FM, you could tune to a different station. So if you wanted to, another nice local station. So you can tune a few different ways. I honestly just recommend using the voice command prompt. Really useful once you get the hang of that prompt. But that's the basics of the actual audio system itself. Next up, moving into, well, let's go phone. So adding in a phone is a very straightforward process. And what I'm going to do is start off on just the Bluetooth side of things. So we're going to go add device.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Expedition pops up.
Confirm that the pin displayed on sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pins match up. Do I want to allow contacts and favorites to sync? I'm going to say no to that one.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Well, thank you. And the vehicle does support CarPlay. So wireless CarPlay, and you could technically plug in through a USB connection if you wanted to. There's 911 assist, and big benefit there is that if you're in a significant crash, it's going to automatically try to dial 911 for you. Always recommend keeping that one turned on. But I'm going to enable CarPlay there. Perfect. And there we go, fully connected, and it's using the screen real. I love how big the icons here are. It's like I've got like one of those old school old person clickers and remotes. It's so wild. So good. But some basics for Apple CarPlay along the very bottom. There's a button you can go in order to get back to the home screen. You can push there in order to be able to get to this icon view instead. It's which map application was open last, which audio application, and which miscellaneous application, along with your current connection status. Apple CarPlay, I should say Apple Maps inside of this thing. No pinch to zoom, but you can at least drag and drop. Going out that way. Adjust your headings, 2D, 3D, etc. search for destinations or look for previous destinations. Go back, Google Maps, same idea. Can drag around this way, but no pinch to zoom capability. To zoom in and out, we're going this way. Gear icon lets you do things like change out route options, so avoiding highways, toll roads, and ferries. Look at your volume options, traffic, and things like that. And then the other one, if we look at Waze, it's the same idea. So Waze users are going to be used to this one, but you can also zoom in and out this way if you want, look at an overview, or hit done. Pressing this button brings you back. Like I said, so many different options for audio. So whether you use things like if you prefer YouTube Music, Live One, which is a radio app, Hoopla, which is a library app, there are a series of different options that are available there. But it's really straightforward to do. You could technically use AM, FM, SiriusXM if you wanted to, while you're also using CarPlay. So that is available as an option. You just select whatever station, and then you're set to go. And then back to the map application that way instead. So it's straightforward. On the phone itself, if you look at your general settings, go to CarPlay and find the Expedition. You can forget the car, toggle CarPlay off, or you can customize. So if you go back to this little icon view, you can do a press and hold if you want to, in order to be able to rearrange the icons. If you never use things, you can delete them if you want. So it fully removes them from the screen, but they are still on the bottom of the phone. So you can add them back in that way if you want to. If you've played around with the order too much, you can do a reset on your phone in order to bring it back to the factory default screen instead. One thing to point out is that if for whatever reason CarPlay is not connected, or let's say your Bluetooth isn't connected properly, you can go there, go to your phone list, and you can see the phone that I've connected. So as of right now, it's connected to CarPlay. If for whatever reason that was toggled off, disconnect. If for whatever reason it's not working, you're going to scrap it. You're going to remove the phone from the vehicle and then reconnect. But even if CarPlay is connected, you can just hop back into just use your phone for Bluetooth or for audio instead. So you don't have to be connected that way if you don't want to. And then there's also settings. So you can manage contacts, notifications, and things like that. And you can have a mix of the audio and the phone. But it's that simple, setting up an Apple device inside of the Ford Expedition. So setting up an Android device is the exact same process. So if you weren't on the screen, let's say if you're back home, all you're doing is pressing the setting icon along the top, going to phone list, add a phone on the vehicle. So you can see there, just going to connect, allow, set up the device. Okay, perfect. And there we go. Supports Android Auto. So let's enable that. And that's saying failed because I hit no for letting it get access to my contacts and things like that. Oh, continue through. And fully connected there. So as you can see, Google Maps, nice pinch to zoom capabilities, which is nice. Scroll around, search for addresses, previous destinations, look at your route options, so avoid toll roads, ferries, and things like that. North up, you can go plus or minus this way. You can press this in order to go to this little split view, or little icon view instead. Back to split, or that's got it. Maps to go full screen. Along the very bottom tray, you've also got little Google Assistant. You can also press and hold the voice command prompt on the steering wheel if you wanted to activate it that way instead. There is a way that you can customize the screen inside of Android Auto. On the phone, if you search for Android Auto, you're going to have Android Auto settings. Just hop in and a series of options. You can look at previously connected cars, but the big one here, like there's Google Assistant and things like that you can disable. Going to be customized launcher. So if you go back to the little icon view instead, you can do a press and drag. But one thing is that it's not dynamic like it was on the iPhone side. You actually have to close down Android Auto and relaunch it in order for these changes to take into effect. But you still do have the flexibility to do it. Now, if you go back home, phone list, you've got both phones that are connected, so you can connect through that way. Maybe you wanted to be connected to your phone instead. So it shut out the phone, and you can have a match of these four. So it can be, let's say you want the iPhone for audio or for your music, but you want the Samsung or the other phone, whatever the case may be, for phone. So you can kind of do a mix and match of these four, but it can be either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so you can't do both. So it's any of these four, either of those two. And then if you wanted to remove a phone, you just hit delete, yes, and it's that simple, setting up a phone inside of this thing. Next up, some driver assistance settings. There isn't anything too crazy under driver assistance. Normal cruise is available, so if you're just not a fan of the adaptive system, the stop and go, you can change it out just to normal cruise control instead if you really wanted to. All right, fella, I get it. There's also lane centering with hands-free, so that's the BlueCruise system, so it can keep you perfectly balanced in your lane. So you've got a few cameras that are watching your eyes there as you go to make sure you're actually paying attention and not sleeping. Speed sign recognition is there, and there's a tolerance level. So that's a really neat one. So if you've got the adaptive cruise system going, let's say if the speed drops from 100 to 80, it's automatically going to lower your speed to 80. And it goes the opposite way. If it goes from 80 to 100, it's automatically going to pick you back up. But it's all based off of this tolerance level too. So like, let's say if you've got a tolerance level of -10, if the speed is going to drop, so let's say it's going to go from 10, or it's going to go from 100 down to 80, it's going to drop you down to 90 instead because you've got a -0 tolerance level. So you can plus or minus that way out if you want to. There's speed limit assist. I don't like that one. Lane keep assist works 3 different ways. So first way is if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to shake the steering wheel as if you were running over rumble pavement. The aid is actually going to nudge you back into your lane, and the alert and the aid will do both. Let's see, other ones to point out, blind spot system. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, this is going to highlight orange to let you know. Reverse brake assist. So as you go to back up, if there's an obstacle behind you that you don't see, the vehicle can actively brake for you. Vehicle settings, there aren't too many big ones here. Let's see, easy entry exit would be one of the big ones. So seat adjustment. So what's going to happen is with this thing enabled, if you turn the vehicle off, it's going to lower the seat and back it up for you to get in or out of the vehicle a little bit easier. For running boards, you've got a few options. So you can have them so that the running boards are up all the time, they're down all the time, or the vehicle automatically determines when they're opening and closing. See, other than that, windows, you've got the flexibility of using the key fob in order to roll the windows down. So let's hop outside, I'll show you how that process works. In order to do it, you're gonna press the unlock button twice, and on the second button press, you're gonna hold. So you're gonna 1, 2, and hold. Down they go, you can release and press the lock button to pause it if you'd like, and then you press the unlock button again twice to continue the cycle. So 1, 2, and hold. Once they start rolling down, release it there, and you're set to go. So that's really straightforward, and it is remote open, but you have to manually close them yourself, unfortunately. See, other ones to point out, some options for lighting. So auto high beam. If the auto high beam's turned on and your high beams are running, the vehicle is going to automatically dim them and then bring them back up again if the vehicle recognizes somebody's oncoming. You can also adjust out the lamps. So when you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps stay on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 120 seconds, or do they just turn off automatically? For locks, the big one there is going to be auto unlock. So either all your doors or just your driver's door when you go to unlock the vehicle. And then these ones are going to be if you shut the door but not completely and go to lock, it's going to chirp at you to let you know. You can have your mirrors auto fold when you go to lock the doors on top of that. Series of general settings. So this is where you're going to go to change between English, Spanish, French, if you'd like to, Celsius, Fahrenheit, kilometers, miles per gallon, whatever the case may be. And then from there, you can also reset. So if you're selling the vehicle, you can do a factory reset or just reset your Ford Pass app instead. The display, you can adjust the brightness through the screen here. This is technically the daytime or the light mode. You can lock it into light or dark mode permanently if you want to. I love that. Look at that, it's beautiful. But auto mode means that it's going to determine if it's in light or dark, just depending on how bright it is outside. You can adjust your clock settings, go into that military time instead, so the 24-hour mode. Auto time zone update means that it's automatically update the time based off of your GPS location. Ambient lighting is available. You can adjust the brightness, but you can't adjust the color, so it's just a blue that shows in a few different spots of the vehicle. Connectivity, a few different options. The only real one to point out here is Bluetooth and vehicle name. So if you want to change it to Bob's Expedition, Patrick's Expedition, whatever the case may be, you've got the flexibility to do it through Bluetooth, change vehicle name. The vehicle has the option for a 4G data hotspot. You do need a data-only plan through certain cell phone providers in order to be able to use it. Software updates, you can automatically have it come on, so it's going to search for updates as they're available, and you can schedule when the updates happen. I definitely recommend doing certain days of the week when you know it's going to be parked for like 4 or 5 hours, because the updates, can take a little bit of time sometimes. So definitely just recommend keeping it at something like this. Ford Assistant. So this one gives you the flexibility of being able to change songs, radio stations. You can navigate using your voice and a number of other things. I honestly recommend taking a minute and figuring out what you can do here, because you can adjust the climate. So rather than fiddling with digital climate, you can adjust it that way. You can change your media and things like that, but it is a really useful system. The command list is this thing that pops up. You could get rid of it by toggling it off. Advanced mode means you won't get as many notifications. Phone confirmation, do you want to call such and such person? The interesting one is wake word. So rather than pressing the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, you could say any of these wake words instead. So, okay, Ford. And it's going to activate the assistant there, so you could do things like change songs, radio stations, climate settings, etc. Valet mode, you enter in a 4-digit number and it's going to lock the screen out. So it's essentially everything but climate control. Big benefit there is that if you've got your vehicle parked via Valet, they can't look through. Yeah, you can see there, climate's adjustable, but a Valet couldn't just look through your screen. So that is available if you're kind of like security conscious. Straightforward, that's the end of that. Auto hold is actually a neat one. So if you've got the auto hold setting enabled, you're in drive and you take your foot off the brake, the car's not going to move. Then you can go into a calming screen too. So as big as this display is, if you find it to be a little bit too intimidating, you could toggle it off if you want. I already pointed out all the different apps that are available. There's a digital owner's manual. You can turn on zone lighting on the outside of the vehicle. So if you want to, you can kind of adjust out. So you could turn on the side lamps, the rear or the front. So if you're going to be camping later on at night, you kind of want to see what's going on around you. You've got that flexibility. Towing is a kind of a neat one too, because there are tons of different options available. If you've never connected a trailer, this is really cool because it shows you, if you're conventional, you can kind of go through and it shows you exactly how to set up a trailer. So if you've never done it, useful. You could select the trailer that you're using, go to some different settings for trailer sway control and notification. Sway control is the big one there. So if you've connected to a trailer and the vehicle senses trailer sways going on, it's going to automatically apply engine braking to try to get that sway under control. Always just recommend keeping that one on from a safety perspective. That's the basics. So all of our settings there. And then there's a 360 camera. So you've got your front view with a 360 view there. You could zoom into certain spots too if you want to on that 360 side. Zoom out. The beeping that you get as you back up, if that beeping drives you nuts, you could technically, hold on. Yeah, there we go. If that beeping drives you nuts, you could technically toggle it off there if you wanted to. You can press this to go to your 360 view. There's a hitch view, so if you're backing up to connect a trailer, you can look to see, make sure that you're lining yourself up properly. There's a front view, a front 180-degree view, and then your backup view there instead. So quite a few different options that are available there. And then I did mention, so all of your basics there are so nice. Honestly, I love the games. So good. Sudoku, really cool. But scroll. Along the very bottom, there's also all of your climate control settings. And then these ones. So this essentially is going to be like what was open last. So if you wanted to, you could just kind of do like a hot button press to get into your maps, audio, and things like that. Got dual zone climate control inside of this thing. And it's neat because you can kind of go up and down this way, but you can see along the dial, it's adjusting this way too. So once you've selected this, you can adjust it this way if you'd like. And this kind of doubles as either climate control or, when it goes away, a volume rocker instead. And it's the same thing for the driver passenger side. You can have auto mode, AC. You can also have this going to windshield facer feet, turn it off, and you can also control what's going on in the back. So you can lock out the console in the back if you don't want people to be adjusting it. You can adjust their climate and things like that on top of that. Turn on AC, the option for heated and ventilated first row seats. Same idea, you can adjust it this way if you want. Really neat. Or you can kind of do a press to go through the different levels this way instead. And that's the same for the driver and for the passenger side. Got the heated steering wheel button. And then, so you can also adjust your fan that way instead. So you can kind of see it's either fan or it's audio instead. So you can toggle your audio on or off. It's pretty neat. And then some basic settings along the very bottom. I know that's quite a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the Sync 4A screen inside of the Ford Expedition.